right, welcome everyone to the March 6th meeting of the MGLD Board of Commissioners. This meeting is being recorded. I do not see anyone from the public, so let's go right through. Do any commissioners have any reports to make?
I have no report.
All right. And
Well, should we mention the meeting today? Yes. So,
if you want to take it away,
okay,
you kind of spearheaded it, most of it, didn't you?
well, just team effort. So today, this morning, the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department and Commission and members of, I guess, town council, the planning, Public Works and Planning Committee and School Committee met to discuss the Wakefield Green Communities Energy Reduction Plan and the planned investments that around buildings that are high energy use in the town and steps to make investments to reduce energy consumption. And so I think there will be some minutes circulated from that meeting this morning, but basically it was kind of a level setting meeting just to understand what we had, the contents of the energy reduction plan report and what are some next steps that we can take. I don't know if others who attended the meeting would like to.
I think so. I think the key is that we're going to do a more detailed audit of the Dolbear and the Woodville School and identify opportunities for either items for grant application, some potential support from the light department, and kind of attack a plan that way. There may be some short-term things as well as longer-term investments that can be made to try to move them from gas.
Yeah, and the next Green Communities grant application cycle is this fall. So we talked about doing that work between now and then, putting in a proposal for funding and then integrating that funding and any other capital needs into the plan for 2025, 26.
Fiscal 25.
Fiscal 25,
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
No,
I think
fiscal
fiscal was already done.
fiscal
Sorry.
26.
Fiscal 26.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought it was a good meeting too. I mean, like I said, it was good level setting kind of opportunity for all the parties. And I didn't know most of the people in the room, so I thought it was just an overall nice, way to bring us all together, make sure everyone's on the same page with the school's needs and how the light department can help them accommodate, or achieve their goals. So,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, thank you all for attending. The next meeting, I think we're going to be meeting on a regular cadence, and I think the next meeting is planned for the end of June after the detailed audit
Mhm.
is performed on Woodville and Dolbear.
Yeah.
Were any members of the capital planning there or?
Nope.
Or is this see them as schools identify the needs and then?
Yeah, but that came up and she said that she's really working on trying to get someone from capital planning to participate.
Well, thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you, Sharon. Anyone else? Okay, town council, Julie's not in attendance, and again, no one from the public is here, so let's move on to the approval of the February 7th minutes. Are there any edits that anybody wants to propose or any concerns?
I have a few relatively minor edits on page 5. So 2 additions to the sentence, basically a quarter of the way down the page, right before the bolded header that says Pete stated that WMGLD will be extending. If you could just add gas lines, I think that's what we're talking about, on Hemlock Road. And then if we can add to the energy park and Nempt this summer.
Your page 5 must be.
Is it different? I have a little 5 at the bottom.
Mhm.
You not have a little?
I have it. Yeah, that's correct. So it's
You're on that page right there.
gas lines on Hemlock Road this
For the-
summer and
Oh,
The
okay,
energy
sorry.
park and
That's
Nempt
it.
this summer.
I was too far down. Thank you.
I also noticed there was a small typo on page 5. Towards the bottom, Justin said that ISO's paper performance, it's pay, PAY,
Oh,
for FOR performance.
Yep, and my only other addition is the last sentence, so it says Justin stated that he'll look into this to see what other key, and if we can just add electrification metrics, because we were talking specifically about new metrics so we can track electrification specifically. And that's all I have.
okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the February 7th, 2024 meetings?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 7th, 2024 minutes as amended.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on.
Good point.
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
What's that?
I wasn't here last meeting.
Yep, great. That's fine, thanks. Okay, so before we move on to to the project updates and the energy park, I just want to kind of go through some of the page, well, let's see, where is it? Some of the pages here in the appendices. So let's see. Specifically, page 20. Well, all of these with the initial charts, 21 to 23. I was just wondering. Hmm?
The consumption reports.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there an easy way to extend this by 1 month? So we can always compare the current month to the same.
Oh,
month
so like
last
if we're in
year?
December to December, January to December, yeah, I think so.
Does it all pull from the same
It-
column?
Yeah, from
Separate
the
column?
same data set, from the
Okay.
same data set. Let me see if we can
Okay,
fiddle around with that.
yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
Yep.
And then I was asking on page 24, asking myself. Can you talk, Mark, a little bit about this increase in the operating cash?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Consumption reports.
Oh, sorry.
No, no, I'm just, I just want to make sure I get this.
Yep.
All right. Where are you?
All right, page 24.
Yep.
Operating cash is way up. And I just want to know if you could mention that, because, I mean, you know, I know, thinking about the audit where operating cash
Yep.
was a concern.
Was way down. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of two. So 23 was way down, and you know, I shouldn't say way down, but 23 was markedly down, and we're recovering some of that in 24. So it's a double effect. So we're gaining some of that cash back that we've you know, we had some of the operating cash that we had eaten into to fund prior year.
It's all about the gas supply. Right?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
A high percentage of that is.
High percentage as is or was on the gas side.
Oh, but this is the electric division.
Yep.
So that's why I was,
Page 24. Yeah.
It was actually on both sides.
Yep, on both.
Underwater. So that impacted the operating cash significantly on both sides.
Yeah.
The power supply on both sides, if you remember, we ended up having to raise the rates on both sides.
Yep.
last year because we were underwater on both sides.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, but the gas difference in operating cash, that's only up by, well, it's up, yeah, I mean, relatively, it's a smaller, it's probably up a similar percentage.
Similar
I'm
percentage.
saying, yeah,
Yeah, that was,
it's 1/4 of the volume of investments, and so,
Correct.
yeah.
A smaller fund, you know what I mean? The gas is a
Yeah,
smaller fund.
okay, so yeah,
Because it's
that makes sense. Very
fewer,
similar.
fewer gas customers than electric, yeah.
Great. Then also on 25,
Yep, hang on. Yep,
the big increase in commercial sales. And it's on the electric side, but is that mostly because of? Well, yeah, but it's just on the like, why did commercial go up so high? Because residential didn't. So it's not rates.
so it's like 800K, it's like that, up 10%, 7.9 to 8.7, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like 10%. I'd have to dig into that a little bit to give you
Okay.
a meaningful
Do we
answer.
have any new
That's what I'm-
commercial load?
So,
yeah.
no,
Come on.
no, nothing like that. It would primarily be driven by the fuel charge. So we haven't had any weather to speak of that would really
Yeah.
drive that. So it's, normally, in a normal world, you look at one of a couple of things. You look at a large commercial installation coming online, which hasn't happened. You'd look at weather, which really hasn't happened.
Right.
We'd look at the rates. So there's really three primary drivers. So,
Yeah.
and we have increased the rates.
Okay.
So
the,
we're gonna have some, you can talk, we're gonna have some relief coming.
Well, I'm wondering, the other thing is, a lot of these buildings that have been under construction, are they treated because they're owner operator first? Like they're under construction, is some of that revenue driven by
Some of that, like a very large apartment building type,
Tarrant Lane?
a temporary service wouldn't
Right.
necessarily be on the residential side on the construction. That's true too.
Right, so like Tarrant Lane was under construction, the work a few of these places that have big buildings that are going, they're, because it's the owner or the construction company.
Right,
it's
no,
hitting the cons-
it doesn't qualify for residential.
Residential, so that's another, and we've had a lot of construction going on, so there's at least a small piece of it that's due to a lot of that.
And then down below, on the income and expense for merchandise and jobbing.
Yep.
What's that? Because that's a big change.
Yep. So what that is the projects that we bill out to our customers. Okay, so a customer comes in and is doing a Tarrant Lane, we bill them for that service.
Oh, okay.
It's jobbing revenue. It's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Contribution in need of construction.
Pretty much, yeah.
A service, no. If it's a service that comes online, no. But if we're extending a phone line or that type of thing, infrastructure, yes.
Any of the large developments.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, so not only are the kilowatt hours that are being sold to that site showing up on the commercial side, but the contribution, that line item goes up and down based on construction.
Okay, I never knew what that was.
Based on building, yep.
They park, yeah, there, yeah. Everywhere.
Cool. Yeah, capital. Okay, two more questions on
Mhm.
page 26.
Mhm.
There was a net income and loss before surplus adjustments, and that one went from 800,000 to 6.5 million.
That's where we're at right now. So a lot of that, what you see in there, and it usually kind of swings back around. So what you've seen here through 7 months in January, on the electric, so you've seen in here, you've seen our two biggest periods of sales, okay? Which would encompass the hot in the summer and the cold in the winter, okay? So normally what happens is, those are the two biggest, consumption times, and it'll start to trail off as June 30th approaches.
Yeah, so we had July, August, September, and then
In the winter,
December, January.
it's the winter.
Okay, So where are where are these numbers coming from precisely?
Those are summations of everything above. So
That is, I mean, that's what it adds up
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Summation of all the revenues minus all the expenses. And anything under that line item, the surplus stuff is, is the payment in lieu of taxes that they go to the town and plant removal. Those are the significant items below.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, I don't see where $6 million comes into play. I mean, the first line, total maintenance expense is only 300,000 off.
Yeah.
The next line is total customer expense, and that's about the same.
Yeah. So
So
if you go,
total admin in general.
if you go back up to the first, like the page we were on before, on page 25, right? So if you come down here and you take the revenues, right? 25. So take the revenues, 22 million, right?
Mhm.
So the cost of power is 9.
Oh, this is page 1 and page 2?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I should have like continued there or something, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that would help. Okay, I'm so puzzled looking at that.
Yeah, so no, I see your point, that this page as a standalone page
Yep.
doesn't.
I wasn't
doesn't
going
give you
by
that
the,
number, yeah.
when I do my own accounting, I use the double lines too,
Yeah.
but I didn't even look at the double lines
Yeah.
on this. Okay, I'm with you. That's
All right.
good, thank you. I think there was only one more, which was, which is. Well, on this, I'll have another question in a second.
Yeah.
So the cost of gas purchased went from 6 million to down to
Almost in half,
3.8.
right?
And so where do we stand now on the under and over recovery from the winter period, and are we gonna be poised to
We're getting-
reduce the rates again next winter?
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Okay,
And that was the goal, we talked about that last year.
yeah, so we've achieved basically so we
Yeah.
caught up.
Yeah,
And so, and then my last question is on page 11. I just wanted to point out that, the receivables are starting to go back up again. I mean, now when I look at the last column,
yeah.
January
The red is-
31st.
The red is growing a little.
Yeah, the red and the yellow together
Yeah.
are similar to what they were last December when you add them together. They had been shrinking, but now they're getting up again, but that's because,
Yeah.
we're in the wintertime,
Yeah,
so.
we've got our eye on, so the receivables as a whole aren't, but but what you're saying is the percentage of that
That's,
receivable,
that's 60/90.
right, more yellow, more red, but I mean, as a
Yeah.
whole. Because I mean, if you look at it, last year we were up here because the bills were so high,
Yes,
you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So, yeah.
Okay, all right, that answers those questions. So then moving on, unless anyone has a question about any of that. Then Pete, why don't we move on to old business and the energy park?
Yeah, so there's a pretty detailed update in there. Things are moving along. Mike's been working with the state on compliance with all the issues with the home rule petition. I believe all the signatures have been completed for the acceptance of the land behind BB. It's gone through Conservation Commission, us, the town council. So I think that piece of it's done. The other two pieces are Ballaster, which we are we've done preliminary cleanup there. We have to do some more site cleanup. Then we're gonna start the park probably later this summer. The cleanup's probably gonna be March, April, May. And then we'll be moving on to creating the park. Our hope is to have most of it done by the end of the year. At Ballaster Lane. And then there'll be a similar process to giving that over to the town. And then the final piece is the planting, which we met with the town and we're gonna do that in the fall because we feel it's got a much better chance for the trees to make it. So we did a plan for the reforestation. It's been reviewed by Dennis Fazio and Joe. They're in agreement with it, so that work will be done. We'll order the trees late summer and we're gonna plant them in the fall or early fall. So that's where we stand on the big items. Dave gave an update on all the ordering of key equipment. The generator has been awarded, the switchgear has been awarded, pad mounts are awarded. We're working with the battery vendor because that model is gonna be different. It's gonna be a shared savings lease model for the battery. We've been working very closely with them. Mark, Dave, myself, and Jason from MWEC had a meeting earlier in the week to go through that contract and work through that. We're continuing to work on that, so that should be. If you remember, that was part of MWEC. larger bid for batteries and we're not the first ones on that one, which is good. So we'll get some learning experience. The first 3 batteries are gonna probably going in the next several months. So we'll get a good feel for how that's all going, so. You know who? DeLorean, I forget who the vendor, DeLorean's the entity that we have a contract with, but the batteries that they're using, I forget which brand they are.
Trainer or no?
Yeah.
No, I was asking who's taking the batteries, like which other.
Which towns?
Oh, the first 3 they're going in are Groton, Holden, and I think Paxton, yeah. So they're trying to get those in for the summer peak for this year. And then our goal will be by the summer peak for next year.
Yes.
Okay. And what else? Just, you got other major projects on the next page. Does anyone have any questions about any of this? Or anything specific to follow? All right, well, then that brings us to old business number 2. Gas Department annual update.
So we have Jim Brown, Paul Robertson, and Raven Fournier have joined us tonight for the gas presentation. Jim, do you have your new jammy pants today?
I'm all set up, Pete. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Jim.
Hello,
You
Hi,
guys,
Shelby.
you guys ready?
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let
Wait.
me share. My screen. Should be good.
Is it full screen?
Yeah. It's got the slide, it's not in slideshow mode yet. There we go.
How about now?
Now it is.
All right. Okay, Paul's gonna
Yep,
start
yep.
us off.
So we've been working pretty closely with the DPW. Planning out our future projects for replacements. So we can align with them just for their paving. Since last year, we've basically gotten all of our dead main projects completed. That was Central, Quarter Street, Church Street, Dillaway, and Upland. Once those are complete, we jumped on a few other projects, specifically Catalpa Street, where we replaced 700 feet of Baresdale Main. That's another road that they want to get paved. Another one was Chestnut Street, where we replaced 22 services because they are doing a lot of road work over there in the next year. Over the winter, we jumped onto replacing Quantipower Ave in that whole area from Main Street, Lakeview. So that should be finishing up within the next week. And then we will be moving over to Heritage Lane, which we started today, and that will be another 1,200 feet of bare steel being replaced so that they can begin paving on Lowell Street. And now I'll give it to Jimmy.
So just background on what Paul just went through. First of all, the whole Quantipower Ave area and the working with the town, it's been Jim and Paul and Raven have done a great job. We years ago when we had that whole memorandum of agreement stuff with the town, we committed to meeting with them once a year. We've been meeting with them multiple times a year now, and one of the things we found early on was that their schedules and their plan for streets changes sometimes like the wind, and so we meet with them more frequently now. This street gets moved in, this street gets moved out, and so we're meeting them a lot more frequently. And also because we have a good relationship, in theory, they could try to kick us off the streets in the winter, but
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Like, isn't this normally a period when you wouldn't be, is the weather the reason you're able to?
the weather's the reason, and the agreement we have that we'll never leave them hanging in terms of plowing. We'll fully repave if we have to, just to be able to keep doing work. So that whole section behind Honeydew that they've been working on, Normally you wouldn't be able to do that, but the weather cooperated and the town cooperated, so they were able to do all that work this winter, which was huge.
Yeah, because you normally can't get asphalt this time of year,
Right. So it's been working out very well.
right?
Yeah, you can get the asphalt, but it's a, like triple the price. But as long as we don't have any road plates down, like before a storm, we clear the roads, we do the work pretty good and we keep the job site clean. It works out well, and they have a project on that end of Main Street that they're gonna be doing this spring. Some drainage work and things like that. But the other driving force behind it was we have 4 leaks over there. So those will be probably the end of next week or early the following week. We'll eliminate 4 other leaks on our system. So, working with them is good because they're gonna be paving that end of Main Street, but also, there's a bunch of leaks over there that we took care of. So it worked out well.
Excellent.
Yep. So on the systems overview, on the service end of it, you guys can see like from 2020 up to now, the percentages have gone up dramatically on plastic pipe, which the dead pipe helps a lot. We let the contractors do that because they can lay main pretty quick, and then we'll go in and liven up all the gas mains to change the services over. And the whole program is working out pretty well. Where you can see we're at 86% on the system, on the service end, and moving them out has been pretty aggressive. Slows us down a little bit, but it's been working out really well. And we can go to the mains. As we said, we're laying the dead main. This year, we're going to be doing, they want to go to Greenwood a little bit more. We have some leaks into the area of Greenwood. We're doing down on Greenwood Ave. Oak Street is coated steel main, which is, it's a cathodic protection program that we have to keep up with for the DPU. And we have some failing test points there. So it's easier, rather than dig up and change test points over, we're going to do the whole neighborhood. That'll also take care of like 3 or 4 more leaks and get the coated steel out and a bunch of small size bare steel, which is more leak prone than the rest of it. So we've been going up probably 2%, as you can see from the on the mains list. It's going pretty good. The cast iron, we only have, like just 0.14% left, which is about 780 feet, which that's also another savings as far as winter patrol, because that's with frost, it's prone to cracking, and the DPU, they consider that more dangerous than the bare steel. So once that grant goes, we'll be able to eliminate our cast iron, get rid of the winter patrol program, and we'll be one of the only ones in the area that are out of cast iron. So that's also pretty significant. So we're doing 1.6 miles of dead main this year, and the grant will be another mile and a half. So if we get those 2 done, then the percentages are going to drive up pretty significantly.
Right.
Where are those, just a question, where are those mains located, the cast iron and the,
Crescent Street and Otis Street.
That's part of the grant.
That's the grant money. Yeah, we got $1.3 million for the grant. So
Water Street and up those side streets.
Water Street, Bancroft, Cyrus, Columbia.
It's moving along. I think Raven will talk about it for a minute.
Yep, I don't want to steal Raven's thunder.
okay,
And also on the leaks, you got the leaks up there, Ray? So I'll just go with the leak. Well, on the leaks where we have no class 2s. We reported no class 2s this year, which class 2s you have to repair within 6 months and to a year. And we reported 0 this year. Class 3 environmentally significant leaks, which is any leak over 50% gas to atmosphere. I had 1 left. I actually just eliminated that the other day. And the class 3 leaks, all of them are like under 20% to single digit percentages, which is, they're hard to find. So rather than digging holes, we've set up a program to just replace sections of main and eliminate all those leaks. So the numbers have really gone, I mean, in 2018, we had 137, we're down to 35. You killed the 4 on Quantipower, that area, and the ones we have on the board and we've already taken care of, we'll be down to like 25. We'll be hopefully under 20 to 15 by the end of this year. The other ones, they're just, it's hard to locate them. It's almost a waste of time, so you schedule it in.
I think we've had one this year so far. He was, Paul, yeah,
Was it Paul?
Alan was just asking, have we had any
Last ones.
this year? We've only had one or
Class one,
two.
yes, so the survey came in and he found 2 class 1 leaks.
Okay,
And those are, more of a danger to the public within foundations, your front yards, high level reads. We had two of those where we had to respond immediately and eliminated those by doing the services. But on the whole leak program this year, they only found 7 leaks and 6 of them were like under 7%, which is not, it's like I said, it's not a big leak at all. Kind of a pain in the neck to find, but we still have to keep them on the books and report them. So, and that the guy was shocked at how tight the system was and how good it's getting. And the other thing, when the survey guys come in, we do after what happened up in Lawrence is we do inside inspections. And, they do them all over the place too now. And he can't believe like how many people let them in the house. Usually they can't get into houses. We had a good number there. We found a few few meter leaks and stuff like that. So it's working out really well what we're doing and moving everything outside. So, and on the move, so if you go to the move outs, Raves, the meters. So on the meter move outs, we set a goal of 100. We were aggressive the first year. We got a bunch. It's tightening up now, so that the numbers getting there are going to be a little more difficult to hit because some neighborhoods only have like 10 outside meters. There's a lot of outside meter sets already in place now, and you can see the numbers in the column on 23 of where we're at. So that program's been working out really well, and people have been really happy about getting them out of the basement. And, it's a little challenge finding spots on houses and making people happy because nobody wants it on the front of the house. But the guys have been doing a great job working with the people, Brett Prowse and Paul. So it's working out really well. That program's moving along fantastic. So.
And just a question about the meters. Is it like going forward, new construction, is it required to put it on the outside of the house?
Yes, 100%. Well, I'd never put another meter inside.
Okay.
Is there
It's tough on the businesses if we're in the square or something like that. That might be the only time we'd have to make an exception because I don't want them sitting out on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It depends on, the dynamics of the building and, how they're situated. But that would be the only time.
Okay.
Is there a mechanism like online, or are we kind of advertising for folks that have an inside meter if they want to?
no,
Or is it
we
more?
We don't have the time or manpower for that.
us,
right?
that would be more problematic. We have to do it in the mechanism where.
Controlled way.
In a program at.
Yeah, it's gotta be controlled. We would do a student body right, not do all the other stuff we're doing. So we need to make sure we're doing it in a programmatic way, which it ties into all the construction that we're doing. So, I mean, occasionally if there's a leak or an issue on a street, we'll move it out at that point. But for the most part, we're tying it into the program work that we're doing.
Makes sense.
And then I'll turn it over to Ray.
I think you're on mute.
How about now?
Perfect.
Now we can hear you.
That's good. So as Paul and Jimmy kind of alluded to, our next yearly project is going to be on Oak Street. We have already taken in the sealed bids, and I think we're going to award tomorrow to the contractor. So that's going to start in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be It's gonna be 10th Street. Totally and replaced, so that'll be a notable project in the Greenwood area, like they were talking about. And then we have the road gas service to feed the Northeast Metro Tech as well as the future energy park. That'll be a lot of coordination project going on because the high school and the tech will also be doing work at that time. So it's not a difficult project, but it will.
Ray, you're breaking up a little. I don't know if there's anything you can do to your mic or.
It's
Might be the
I'm
video.
trying.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Even
me?
if you,
You can
come
shut
off video,
yeah.
if you shut off video, it might make it better.
How about that?
Yeah, it seems a little better.
Good.
Okay.
We should have used that
so-
with Jimmy a while ago. God, that would have.
Could have helped. So just want to give a quick update on where we are with the grant program. So we received the 2022 award in spring of 23. It's a little confusing, but so the 2022 award meant we had to comply with a bunch of federal processes that we don't usually go through. So we had an environmental assessment. That was basically the second half of last year that ended with the public comment period in December. And where we are now is we are fielding quotes for the engineering plans development, as well as bidding out the materials and labor. And we've been in different trainings through PHMSA for procurement and reimbursement for the 2022 application. So that's in the works. Well, hopefully construction will start sometime in the middle of the year this year, probably. And then we applied for the 2023 round. We applied in August. And that would be a project that would be taking place in the Greenwood area again. It would be a bigger, about double what we applied for the first time. So it'd be 3.61 miles, and it's on 14 different streets in Greenwood. And we have been told that we will receive notification within the next month on whether or not we have received that. So hoping to hear some good news soon. That is all I have for today.
Oh, I just want to give a little shout out to Raven and Joe, because the PHMSA folks that they've been working hand in hand with for the past 8 months since we got the grant have been very complimentary. We were actually the first utility of anyone awarded a grant get through the environmental assessment process. So we're kind of leading the league right now in progress towards the utilization of these grants. That was all due to Joe and Raven's work. So
Great work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the amount of each of the?
the first grant that we were awarded, Mark's got the big check, it was 1.3 million. Yeah, and then Ray, what was the amount on the second grant?
We applied for 4,040,000. So a little over 4 million.
And one of the things about those grants, like Holyoke and Westfield both applied for 20 million and they were awarded 10. So there is a possibility that they could step in and award some fraction of what we asked for, and we could modify what, you know.
Let's go board.
Yeah.
Do these have matching dollar requirements?
Not fully, but there's contributions that we have to make in terms of, there's certain parts of the job that they won't reimburse for, so.
Great. Any other questions on the presentation? Yeah, well, you guys are doing great work. I mean, you certainly, the numbers demonstrates progress and keep up the good work, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we keep our last piece of cast iron when we get there? Can we have a party?
Yeah.
I'll cut a piece out for you. We'll have a ceremony.
Yeah,
Just pick a good rusty holy one.
yeah.
Yeah, really.
Put that in some epoxy and frame it.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be sad for Jimmy. He remembers putting it in when it was installed.
Keep it up, Pete. Keep it up.
It's not 106.
Been a long time, but the end is drawing near. But you'll be in good hands with Raven and Paul.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, at this point, I wanted to just bring up, there was a question that came up, a couple of weeks ago? And on Facebook, and a woman was complaining about the light department's policy with regard to gas main extensions and hooking up new customers, whether they're directly on Main or whether they're beyond, how far the main goes up the street. And so I thought it would be appropriate for us to discuss that. I thought it was gonna come up in the last meeting, so I didn't include it in the agenda because the woman who made the inquiry or complaint said that she was gonna attend the meeting, and that was gonna be when we would discuss it. So I thought today would be an appropriate time to talk about that. It was just a pure coincidence. I didn't know anything about this woman, but the day before the complaint, I had asked Pete about what we say to customers who are applying for a new gas service. And Pete explained that we tell them that they're put on a waiting list. And if enough people would sign up, that would justify the cost of the expansion, then maybe then it would happen. But later Pete said, actually, we haven't actually done any main extensions in quite a number of years. And so I'm not sure if we should be putting people on a wait list if we're actually never gonna give them gas service.
Well, the wait list is usually people that still have gas in front of their house too. That list encompasses people that have gas in front of their house, not just main extensions.
Are there
Okay.
Yeah.
two lists more about?
There's just a singular list.
Does it potentially make sense to have two lists, one where services, there's a main in front of the house, and then one where it would be, a request for main extension, or is that?
It's probably, I mean, we could, it's not, I mean, in this case, she probably, I'm not sure what the conversation was prior to, but there is gas lower down her street, but we would have to extend the main, and we haven't done any gas main extent. It's been actually almost 12 years since we extended any gas mains. We did Jennifer Road, which is off of West Park, that circle. And that was the last time we've actually extended gas main and did new work, so.
But is the policy that if a gas main needs to be extended, the customer will be 100% responsible for all the cost of the extension of the gas main?
Well, the way it works right now is that if it were like in a subdivision, then they're gonna share they're gonna have to actually dig the trench, we lay the pipe, and so that's the way.
A new subdivision.
Yeah, if it was a new subdivision, yeah, that's the way it would work.
But on an existing street.
We haven't actually allowed it to happen in 12 years. It's not a priority to us. Our priority is all the other stuff that they just talked about.
Yeah.
So,
But was there a written policy beforehand or?
no, it's just been an operating policy. We haven't extended gas main in 12 years.
So I'm saying before that happened, before we stopped, when we were extending gas mains, how would people
Honestly, I'm not sure if they were even charged before. I don't, so on the Jennifer Road project, I think like almost 87 or 88% of the people on that street agreed to have gas installed, and then we did it. But, that was 12 years ago, and the philosophy is different now. So I wouldn't recommend that we continue that policy, so.
So if the customer is not in front of existing main,
We haven't been,
they're still told they're on a wait list, or are they specifically?
I'm not sure in this case. Typically, we just say we don't have gas there. And they wouldn't actually be on a list, because we would tell them that we don't have gas. What's Sarah's street, Jimmy?
Scott Lane.
Scott Lane, like, you know, a few people have asked on Scott Lane, but we just tell them we don't have gas on Scott Lane. So
Okay.
in this case, it was probably a little bit different because there was gas on the street. It just didn't extend all the way to where her house was.
Right, well, according to her complaint, I think part of what she was, a good part of what she was upset about was that what she claims anyways, is that she called the light department before she bought the house and moved to Wakefield and was told there's gas on the street, so she bought the house. And now she can't have gas, so that's part of it. So if somebody were to just call in and say, hey, do you have gas on such and such a street? I might buy a house there. To someone who's answering the phone?
Well, no, but they would take it and give it to Jimmy and to look at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would definitely be me, Jack. I don't usually look up and see what number the main stops at.
Oh, okay,
That would be definitely on me,
yeah, okay.
you know? I just say it's on there, it's not on there. They ask if there's a petition, and we got so much other prioritized work that I know it's not gonna happen. I'm not doing it. It just creates more headaches for me.
Mhm.
So if this customer would come back and say, I want gas, extend the main, I'll pay for it, would we do it?
In that case, I mean, I would guess it would be similar to like extending a service because we would make them pay for the extension of the service. So in theory, yes.
I know in like the LDCs, that's what they do. If
Yeah.
there's one customer asking for gas, they're responsible for the entire cost of the main extension. Unless they can get all their neighbors to sign up
Yes.
and then they share the cost appropriately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way natural does it, yeah. So,
I did it about 5 years ago, and Dome dug the trench. We just laid the pipe, he backfilled, he hot topped, he did everything.
okay,
That was at least 5 years ago, maybe more. That's the last time that's happened. And he paid for it.
Yeah.
What is it?
The microphone
something was wrong, yeah.
detected.
And yeah.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay.
Good. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that was weird.
It happened last time.
Well, the picture's all,
Yeah, no, the camera do it, adjusted.
Yeah.
It happened last time too. We had a little,
oh, cool.
It's Dave's fault.
I didn't touch anything. Like being at home, I get blamed for everything.
It's early in the meeting, Dave. We
I
have.
didn't put that in the minutes, okay? Yeah.
Jeez.
Record it. Jack, are you looking to have like maybe a more solidified policy or?
I mean, I don't, I mean, I think so. I think maybe we should be able to be really clear that, so if the customer's calling, I mean, that's a difficult question. If the customer's out of town and saying, what's on the sheet, but if the customer is an existing customer and calls up and says, I want gas, then you're gonna have to look at it and say, okay, is the main in front? And I think we should be able to give a very concrete answer one way or the other. If we're willing to extend the service, if the main's in front of the house, and what might happen, we might be willing to do if you're not, so, but I don't know, I mean, maybe we should all just think about it. And next month, if somebody thinks, that we want to have a more firm policy, we can establish one, but I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
I'll definitely be more diligent on checking the GIS before I answer anything in the future. There's no question about that.
okay,
I think this was a unique situation where we had, if the generic question was asked, do you have gas on whatever street it was?
yeah,
Yes, we did. But
right,
you'd have to look at the GIS map to see that it didn't extend beyond house number 47 and she was 53 or whatever.
It's usually the realtor that calls and asks the question before the purchase is done. I've probably had it like 5 or 6 times within the past 2 years. It's a realtor that calls and I'll just say, yes, there's gas in the street, but I don't check to see how far it goes because usually it runs all the way through, and that happened to be a dead end street. So, and it didn't go all the way to the end. It was like an add-on house, after the mains were laid, God, 1930, but down there.
Yeah.
So that was the issue.
Yeah, I've heard from a fair number of people about the wait list over the course of the last many years. And I
Yep.
do think it can be misleading because it makes someone think that they might actually happen at some point in the not near future, but like reasonable. And so the fact that it most likely won't is,
There's two.
Well,
I think
The
is.
single services we are chipping, I mean,
Yeah.
what's the number at now on the list, Jimmy? It's under 100, right?
Yeah, but the way I'm handling it now is I'm telling the people you can have gas, but you have to get somebody to dig the trench. We'll work with the contractors. And, DPW has a list of qualified contractors at town hall. Get some prices, figure out if you want to do the transition. We just don't have the time or the manpower to do the new services. So it's like a nuisance and it pulls away from the work that needs to be done. So that's the way I portray it to the customers when they call and ask.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think it's either like a yes or a no. And then.
Right away, and they always ask, and everything's situational. They always ask, how much does it cost? And, I can give them a roundabout of like $3,500 to dig, but if it's a 100-foot service, if it's a 10-foot service, it varies. And, I don't want to commit to it. And I'll just tell them to deal with the contractor. It's still $1,000 for us to come over because we have to tap the main. We're using product and time, labor to do it. So, and most people, they just snap right out and say, okay, I'll call you back and we'll have it done. And those people are done in a week.
So we might have to adjust the new gas service application, because right on there, it specifically says $1,000 is the fee. And so if that's
Correct.
not really the case, we should take that out and maybe say, it's subject to factors.
Well, like Jimmy said, it's still $1,000 on our side.
Right.
Plus it may cost more, plus the trench.
So we're still charging 1,000, because I thought the 1,000 was what we charged when we were digging the trench.
Yeah, it was, but that was also,
So now it's still 1,000 and we're not digging the trench.
right, but we're still installing the pipe, tapping the main, as Jimmy said.
Right.
It's still labor and product, and then the stuff is jacked way up. It's expensive. We're probably still losing a little bit of money at that,
Yeah, okay.
Are we
So
also,
I can get together with Joe and maybe we can revamp something and come up with something else to add to the application process. I
are we
mean,
cross-checking the app as well? Because there's other factors that a multifamily, but if the street has been paved, there's
Oh, yeah,
a
that's-
moratorium by the
They-
town.
That's already covered, yeah.
Okay.
When Jimmy
That's covered.
talks to them, that's, that street can't be dug on until 2027 or whatever.
Okay.
That's clearly spelled out right at the beginning.
and I put that right on the list too, on the computer. I write moratorium and then the date that it expires that it can be dug. So,
And the customers that are on those streets are made aware of it right at the beginning.
Okay,
right-
yeah,
right
just,
away.
make sure, and then extending gas, is a little bit in conflict of kind of the stuff that we're doing with the electrification. Are we also, as people are putting applications in, kind of redirecting them to an alternative into the electrification, putting them in contact with a boat?
I moved up to heat pumps and a couple other things, so. I've
Yeah.
actually, I've sold a few, if you can believe that.
Monthly commission check.
Whoa.
Keep that in this group though, all right?
Okay.
Well, that's good, because if they don't have an alternative in mind, maybe they,
I mean, they already have electric service, so.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of the people who are thinking about gas are on oil. And from the Facebook discussion, there were a lot of people talking about how they've gone to propane
Mhm.
as opposed to electric.
Right, because they're not aware that they can use electric that there's an efficient
Heating.
electric heating, option. So,
So it's a education.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for that discussion. Yeah, I mean,
It was good that we waited, because we have the experts on the call.
so I don't know. I mean, maybe, we can just, my suggestion is we just think about it and just, decide if there's something that we think we need to do or something. I don't know.
Either that, or maybe when the customers reach out, just caveat the responses back saying that subject to checking whether gas mains are extended
Yeah,
through
let's
to
get-
the address. That could cover us.
Yeah, I think we can just modify the app a little bit, include the pause, the connection fee plus the specs that we've been using around the.
Right. I think Jack is talking more about the inquiries that we get from customers,
Yeah.
whether there's gas on the.
Well, yeah, we
street or
usually,
not.
again, this was a one-off, but in general, we usually do that. Jimmy will usually investigate it right away and say there's no gas on that street. In this particular one-off case, it was on that street, it just
But
didn't
not-
go all the way
yeah.
up there.
Okay. Great, all right,
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great.
That's true.
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to the community solar update.
Yep, so I sent out a note last week, the system is running, and of course, we've gotten rain almost every day since.
What is this?
I know, huh?
Spring.
But it is generating and it's, the building side system actually even spit a few kWh onto the system, even though it's, only partially producing. So there are a handful of kilowatt hours that have gone from this side out onto the system. The other side, I didn't get a reading yet on, did Vinny give you a reading?
No,
But I mean, the other side has been producing right onto the system right now, so, but it is up and running. I'll let Joe talk about signups. He was gonna share his screen. We had a underwhelming attendance at our presentation at the senior center today, so.
Oh,
There was one guy and he actually wanted rooftop solar, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know what
No, but he enjoyed Joe's presentation and he had a cookie, so.
He was a good sport about it.
Now we
You
gotta
know,
eat the rest of them.
he sat through the whole presentation,
Oh, no.
asked some questions. He was engaged, but come to find out, he's probably gonna put solar on his own roof, but.
That's funny.
I think a lot of this seems to be potentially, right, cross-selling that alternative program to people that, yeah, they're trying to figure out what to do.
Well, yeah, and I guess the one thing that came out of it, and actually came out of the other meeting too, was I think you can put solar on your roof, you just have to bounce off the community solar program. And I think the benefit is because the sign up fee isn't that high, it's not a huge loss for you to decide later on that you want to jump off and get your own solar.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
do you need to jump off? I mean, can't.
Yeah,
you just-
we've said that they
Do you?
can't be on both.
Oh, I see, okay. Well, I know they couldn't be at the outset, but I didn't know if like
Yeah,
5 years down the road, you're gonna.
yeah, maybe we'll modify it, but at this point, we're telling them
Yeah,
they can't.
okay.
Yeah, so just a little brief update about kind of where the signups are and everything like that. So right now we have 56 signups as of today. 163 kilowatts requested in total. The average request is still around 3 kilowatts. A lot of people go for 5, a lot of people go for 1. 3 and 4, you don't see them as much, so the average is kind of a deceptive kind of
Oh.
thing there. Usually it's 5 or 1, and then it kind of just evens out to 3. But 155 non-low income have been requested, and then 8 on the low income side. We sent out the targeted marketing effort towards the low income. It's a tailored mailer. We utilized a Leo list from Robin. She kind of manages that fuel assistance, as well as we sent it out to 101 Broadway, which I believe is with the housing authority. It's one of the housing authority residences where the customers pay their own bill. So we figured that would be a good place to target as well. We'll see how that shakes out. That was sent out pretty recently. So we'll see if that gives us that uptick in the low income that we're looking for. The initial sign up window is closed. I know the original date was at the beginning of March to say we're gonna take an inventory of how many people have signed up, what they're requesting, and then try to send out contracts kind of promptly after the beginning of the month. So we have the draft contract created, and we're planning to send those out pretty soon. We're extending the signups through April 1st. So what we did is the plan right now is to give everybody who wanted more than 2 kilowatts, and that leaves us with a couple left over on the non-low income side if there are additional trickle in signups from now until April 1st. So, yeah, and then the last point is we had the info session at the senior center, but I think a lot of the people who wanted to find out information and have either already signed up, have been to the two other presentations or both. So I think that's where there was some less people obviously at the third one, but I think it was good that we still gave it as an opportunity because we'd rather be there and have one person, 5 people, whatever, than leave people out. So that's kind of the spiel on the update here.
Just a question, if we don't get, I think the carve out for low income was 20%?
Yeah, 25,
5%?
yeah. 32, was it 33 or 32?
Yeah, it's 30,
Okay.
it's 32 kilowatts, and right now, if we go by the, giving people 2 kilowatts up until this point, I think that would be about, was it 5 or, I think it's 5 or 6 that would be spoken for, so we still have, a few to go, for sure.
So what will happen, should,
We can let it run for a little bit, see how the mailer works on the
Yeah.
targeted mailing. We'll give them a little bit of time with that. I mean, there's no like, we must close it, but whatever it produces that we're not selling on the community solar will just go back to the system anyway.
okay,
So we have a little bit of like,
leave that open?
leave it open a little bit. But if, say, into June, maybe we do decide to, as a group, we can reallocate those to the people that wanted more. And,
The low income mail will go
this week. So,
out? Oh, okay.
Is it just thinking ahead to if you don't get the signups, instead of putting it into the non-low income, is there low income housing that the town provides?
That's-
Maybe
yeah.
the town might be interested in it as an entity to help with their costs.
well, Joe's, we included that mailer to the senior housing.
Okay.
So we identified the mailing list for that one as well.
I meant not individual bill payers, but where the town is responsible for the utility. I don't know if there are.
Yeah, the other senior housing complexes like that, so we could look at that and see it.
And it might be a place that
Yeah.
could be all the.
Reserve that 25% carve out
Yeah,
for low.
and that carve out for, what, like Harts Hill, is that individual or is that?
One's individual and one is,
Yeah,
this
individual
pays.
in units, they
Yeah.
have both.
Okay. And it might be beneficial for the.
We can talk to the town about it.
Joe, what was the total size, if you don't mind me reminding me?
The total size of the community solar array,
Yeah.
125 kWdc.
Okay. So we're oversubscribed.
Well, if we give everybody what they
Right.
wanted, we could oversubscribe. We're trying to manage it a little bit,
No,
Yeah, so we kind of came to the conclusion, if we gave everybody, this is just looking at the non-low income side, because obviously we're trying to get the low income side to be fully subscribed, but on the non-low income side, if we give everybody that wanted more than 1, 2, then I think we'd have a handful left over for those trickle-ins. And then if nobody signs up for those last few that we're kind of leaving open, then we could just go back to those the top of the list people who requested more than 2, and then they would be the first ones to be eligible for 3.
Yeah, so we can approach the town about that, the balance. Let's see how this
Yeah.
targeted mailer works out in the next couple of weeks. And then from that, we can go from there. I think that, to me, the bigger number is the 56 is really, there's been 60 people that are, the interest level is only at about 60 people. So in terms of expanding this to more people, it's never gonna be cheaper than our own roof. So I don't think the demand is there right now to consider another one of these projects yet, so.
Unless we did another solar project, that's not a community solar project, doesn't,
Well, yeah, I mean, if we did another, then the economics would have to be different. It wouldn't be as, but we can, we're still talking about, town-owned roofs and things like that in a different way, but in terms of community solar, we're not getting the rush that we were, hoping for, so.
Do we have, I mean, and I don't know if we have any way to tell. There's a lot of townhouses and apartments, and those are the folks that I see that would really be in the community solar realm, because like it's hard for them to consume solar, especially.
Well, they've all been in the same,
Yeah.
same material, you know, it's been in, on our website and bills and all that stuff, so. Again, the demand is, kind of, I was hoping that the 56, and we had 90 show up at that first meeting, and only 56 signed up, and then we had over 20 at the second meeting, and then we got one more today.
I did notice though at the public information session at the BB, people were asking about rooftop solar. They were a little bit, some folks were confused. And so.
And same as this guy today, so yeah.
So
there's,
I think there's a lot of demand for rooftops still.
Yeah. And Vinny, well, as the solar coach, do you still get a lot of questions or?
I haven't gotten a lot of through the email. There's been pockets here and there.
Yeah.
I would say I probably get one through the email every month, 2 months.
Yeah, we have referred people that are right at the beginning of the process, if they're not sure. We've referred them to that, if they're, so like, I'm not sure if I want to, and actually today, the guy was just like kind of kicking the tires. I'm like, well, the town has a solar coach too that can help you with the preliminary decision-making process, so.
Yeah, we referred someone to you
Yeah,
just a couple of weeks ago, and she said she has a home right on North Ave, she said. And so we gave her your name, and she was gonna try to look you up on Facebook, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if.
That was a couple of weeks ago, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if, with the feedback that we got from the library and that, if we should have another session for rooftop.
yeah.
It could be run the way that it was done with the, round table of, a homeowner, that's existing solar customer, but potentially an installer and gas and light.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As another info session.
that was actually a recommendation from the Environmental Sustainability Committee that we should do another rooftop solar
I think it's
session.
been a while since.
Yeah, it's been a little while, so we can do that, yeah.
We are gonna talk about customer outreach and information sessions when we do the goals for next year, so keep that in mind there.
We talked about a heat pump session too, right?
Yeah.
So now we got two of them that we're discussing.
We've done a couple already on the heat, but we've done, an online where we'll try to do another one in person. We've done one on heat pumps a few years back in person. So, yeah, we can revisit both those topics.
And I think having vendors present that can do the installation is probably key to a lot of questions that the customers might have.
Yeah, especially if the rebates have changed.
Yeah.
Aren't aware.
Yeah, I guess the way I see the community solar is like waves over time, not necessarily like everything at the beginning, because I think a lot of people here are testing, like they are newer to this, right? And as you said, it's either 1 or 5, right? They're either like 100% committed, totally understand it, or it seems to me they're like, I just want to have a taste and kind of see what this is about, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, get them involved and kind of let them see what it is and then go from there.
How many of the ones are gonna come back and say, I want 5?
Who knows? Yeah.
Hard to say, yeah.
Well, I signed up and just asked for 2, one for myself, and one for my husband. I didn't want to be too greedy.
Saw that you waited until closer to the end too. You were being nice.
Well, I didn't want to,
Well, I think that's the other thing too, is it's because people maybe were afraid of getting all 5 if they put it in, right? Then you have to pay for it. So it's like, it's not I don't know that it's a full show of interest of everything somebody might eventually want to have, it's
True.
like, what do I want right now? Right, yeah.
To your point, there may be another, once it's established and people are talking about it.
yeah,
There's, kind of that snowball effect of I tell someone and they tell someone and the experience gets out there, because we haven't had it in town.
So Sharon, you could do a testimonial after you get.
Yeah, and then it will go
You
viral.
could, yeah, you could do a testimonial and really promote it.
One for my grandma, one for my aunt. Christmas,
Yeah.
my family.
And then you can tell everybody you have 8.
I mean, actually, that's not a bad idea. You could do a gift a KW gift certificate.
Yeah, that's what I was saying for that relative of yours. Yeah,
Who you don't know what to get.
who you don't know what to get.
Wow.
Plant a tree, get some solar.
The person that has everything.
You can package it with a calendar and then also the gift. I think we still give coupons or gift cards too.
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone has come in the last year or two and got one of those, but
Oh,
There's
that's a
been
good
couple of
idea.
Cards, yeah.
We just
you can
lost
roll
our
those all up.
we lost our
Okay.
WMGLD sunglasses in Barbados, so
Oh.
there's a little piece of you on that island.
Jimmy jumped off, but I made the mistake of wearing a WMGLD T-shirt at a beach in Puerto Rico once, and some woman came on. Immediately said, "Do you know Jimmy Brown?" I'm like, "Oh God, I never."
It's a good thing or is it-
I'm like,
no?
yeah, exactly. That's why you have to be very cautious how you answer that, so.
All right. Anything else on community solar? Before we go into strategic planning, which is gonna be real brief. All right, so strategic planning, so where we are on that is each of us had homework to go back and kind of fill out the metrics under each of the goals that we were assigned, and some of us completed that assignment, some of us haven't.
One side of the table did complete the assignment, one side didn't complete the assignment. Oh, yeah.
No, I've been 16 hours straight every day since end of January and I haven't,
Really?
yeah, I haven't had.
No, but it's the work you did originally.
No, I'm saying you did your work.
Yeah.
Yours is mostly done, so.
I hated that I missed last month's meeting because for sure some good discussions about it.
We channeled yeah.
All right, so-
It didn't take long, though, I will say.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like in.
When, didn't we have another extra session?
Yes, next-
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the next, so the next meeting is in
Yeah.
2 weeks.
March, yeah, 2 weeks, yep.
So we do need to get those comments to John fairly soon. Do you think, Elton, that you're gonna be able to get yours or,
I'm gonna try this coming weekend.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, and if not, just let me know when.
Well,
Resign.
on yours, at least, there's a lot already there from
Yeah.
that prior outline
Yes.
that you did, so.
Yep.
Right, yeah. All right, yeah, so then we can get that to John and then he can prepare for the 20th. Anything else that somebody or anyone wants to discuss about strategic planning before we move on?
Well, I guess, Elton, did you have any questions on like where we ended up with the 5 categories of goals? And is there any further feedback or input you have at this point? Because there were changes. I mean, I'm sure you noticed there were changes to the goals.
There were, I think, I mean, I know we discussed it in January when John was here, like, see, I don't see Paul. I don't know where it's all under. Being like interpretation of policy from state level. Or what new policies we need to set up in order to successfully achieve the net zero transition.
In terms of a goal or just in terms of being informed, our goal being informed?
I think it's a little bit of both, like interpretation of legislation or any type of like ruling from state or any entity, and then policy from a department perspective, meaning do we need to start thinking differently about the rebate programs, the potential time of use rates, managed charging or any type of response programs that we would be able to offer. I think when we talk about that, those would fall under one of the bigger goals. So it'd be more of an objective or a plan to achieve the goal.
It would probably filter through multiple of these.
Yeah.
Supply and gas system.
True, but
and funding,
but
you know.
some of this could be impacted from a policy that the state sets.
Mhm.
So how do we take that into account? Is it through revision of the goals as those policies get developed and rolled out?
Yeah, if they change,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say, because I don't think it's my opinion is when we finish this, it's not done for the next 24
Yeah.
years. It's, you know,
Living
yeah,
documents.
yeah.
Yeah, with like a periodic update, maybe not every year, because it
Yeah.
could be
Yeah.
too much, given that it's
Yeah.
strategic, but.
I mean,
And to your point, like the DPU order 2080, falls under the gas system. We have a goal of the gas system. Then whatever DPU 2080 or whatever the next one is, how does that DPU policy impact the goal and how, do you think
Yeah,
it could change underneath it?
So 2080 doesn't fall just on the gas.
Yeah.
It falls on the customer, it falls on the funding.
Yeah,
Because
but-
it touches all three of them, from a customer adoption perspective, what customer offerings are we gonna?
right, and there's also the debate we're having right now, which are we even under 2080?
Well, that's,
Yeah, and so, or are we gonna, much like the other stuff like that was in the bill in 21, we're not under the old guidelines. We've inserted ourselves in a different way to make sure it mirrors what, like, for example, we have power supply contracts that, so one of the things that happened in 21 is when we set the goal for 2050, we said that we can't get there in a straight line. We can get there in steps because that gives us time to digest power supply decisions because our power supply doesn't change each year like the IOUs that bid it out, you know.
Right, so is somebody at MWIC looking at 2080 and figuring out
Oh, yeah,
what
yeah.
applies to each one of the.
Yeah, MWIC, MEM, E&E, we're all looking at it, yeah.
I think that we took your long
Outline.
goal
Trying to
and broke it out
Detail.
into
I'll see
some
that.
manageable
Chunks.
chunks. So thought of like the system, supply, customer, like employees or workforce, and then funding is just kind of
So is the intent to put a plan in place together that would be like the living document for each one of these sections now?
Potentially, I think the next session we could talk about.
Talk about it.
Yeah, what-
Yeah.
yeah.
Because again, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily have the answers to everything on how we're gonna be reaching the end goal, but as long as we have some sort of a medium-term plan, probably work.
Yeah.
Well, the initiatives are like more action oriented, right? Like steps of
Right.
things that could be done, right? Yeah. So it starts to take the shape of,
and all of these can be oriented to drive towards 2050 net zero.
Mhm. For the right side of the table, what do you put together? Was that shared with all of us? Because I don't think.
No.
No.
I
Sent it.
But I sent it right to John. I thought I had copied everybody, but I'll check in with John tomorrow and see.
If you don't mind, so I mean, if
Yeah.
there's something that, let's say Sharon or Jen has done,
Mhm.
it might be a waste of time for
Yeah.
any of us that haven't done it, including myself,
I'll reach out. to him tomorrow.
to double duty on the topics.
yeah, and we talked about having, the reason why I said it wasn't long is we talked about like, what do we say, like 5 to 10 initiatives for each thing at most, like it's not,
Yeah.
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 And some were already.
And some were already
filled
kind of
in.
there, yeah, so it wasn't a ton of time to put that down on paper,
You don't have to tell us how long.
but just.
All right. Are we good on that? Strategic planning? So we'll revisit that in 2
Can I ask one more question? So
Yes.
as part of putting this plan together, I know you guys are capable of doing a lot of it. Would it make sense to also look for maybe somebody external to come and help in certain sections that you might not have the expertise internally?
Well, why don't we see where it goes?
Because it might play a role into like the funding of the immediate needs, or let's say bringing in a consultant to work on certain pieces of the plan.
Yeah, so the funding, like Joe's been working with a consultant on that already. So,
Okay.
you know, those are, So I rather than say we need a consultant for a certain thing, they're gonna fit the role with, you know.
Right.
As opposed to if we fit, when we get to the next phase of this process, if we see a gap or a
Okay.
need, you know.
Yeah, we'll see what the more detailed level is.
All right, so the next is the 2023 performance review, and before we do the performance review, let's talk about the 2024 goals. Last year, when we talked about the performance review, we went into executive session, and then we came out and took a vote on what we were offering, and then we took a vote subsequent to that to adjourn. So my proposal will be to do the same thing and begin by talking about the 2024 goals. And if that's okay with everyone, let's start right in. I was mistaken. I apologize. When I first opened the package, I went to the back and I saw this printout in the clean version, and then I saw the other printout in the clean version. And so I jumped to the conclusion that that was a mistake of printed without the marks. And then later on, I realized there was a third copy with the revision. So I didn't need to send the file, but so here it is. So if we can just turn to page 42. And we can, you know, Sharon and I can walk through, well, and Pete walk. through.
42 is the 23 results.
Oh, this is so you didn't have a red line. Oh, I was right. All right, so we did need the file that I sent. And now I didn't bring the actual red line version, but I have.
You want to project it?
We enter into executive session now or after? This is.
No, we'll talk about the 2024 goals publicly,
Okay.
and then we'll just do Pete's review,
You want the red line version or the clean?
the red line version
Fine, yeah.
of the new goals.
I'm gonna get a cookie. Anybody else want one?
I mean, kind of, but.
Come on, it's St. Patty's Day. I'm not even Irish.
Seen a lot of activities on the hunt.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say.
The month.
Like,
Some of it was the two poles that were hit and the transfers, and then we identified a few more poles to work on.
Okay,
So,
I remember maybe a couple of years back.
Get
together. They went
Talk to each other.
Yeah.
Few people.
yeah, Osmos did Verizon.
Yeah,
And they funded and all.
Nice to see them in a different environment.
Yeah, all those braces are all Verizon side.
Good.
When we've identified zero life poles, we've.
Keep it going.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's good though.
Yeah, they've been working on that area since then, you know,
Yeah.
so we had two,
Those accidents.
yeah, so we had two accidents in a period of time, and
Yeah, so he's,
so Paul patrolled the street and said, well, while we're here, let's clean up some of these other issues.
everybody's learning about this. It's good.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, he seemed excited.
Yeah, he was very excited, yeah.
Yeah, what is? That's odd.
There's something at the top, like it's waiting. What does it say in the upper left?
Recording.
Forwarding.
What?
That is
That
like
is
waiting.
odd.
Yeah,
This weird.
sharing just the bar.
Share the screen.
Just so you know, Tom, Jimmy Brown could share.
That was Raven, that was
Yeah.
Jimmy Brown. Be careful who you give credit for that one.
Well deserved, well deserved.
This is the,
That's the
That's
clean,
red line.
that's the red line one?
Yeah, which doesn't look.
oh,
like
you need
mine.
to show it.
You need to show your
Whole,
red lines.
Mine is opened up in.
I think, yeah,
And they
review
might-
with
Oh,
markup,
no, I think I just missed it.
review with markup.
Wasn't it show comments and changes right there?
It's a pain though.
Oh,
It's not integrated.
Yeah, hold on,
Yeah,
let me
that's not-
stop sharing this and do this on Windows. Hold on.
Jumped on that to start. So sure.
That's what I had to keep doing. I was trying to open it like through the cloud and I couldn't see the changes, but then when I opened it directly in Word, I finally could see the changes.
Yeah.
Is this the one with it?
It was sent from you, right?
Yeah, it was sent from me on Friday afternoon.
Red line. where is it?
Want to download or open it in Word?
Yeah, I'm gonna open it in Word.
There we go.
So we took just, a lot of the changes are just refreshing and kind of moving things into around so that they kind of made sense under the sections. And then also we asked Pete for sometimes more prescriptive measures.
If you can hide those comments, then we can just look at the change, because the comments don't say anything. They just said that I put the edits in.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Just keep playing. So yeah, so on that first page, it was,
I think it's under review. And then show all markup Yeah.
Markup.
and take off go below the tracking. I think it gives you more options. Somewhere in there. And then, comments is already up, so they shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Shoot.
Okay.
Let's just stop. We're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, okay, we're there. Okay.
I could take this one.
Okay.
So, train employees, since this is the section B1 performance goals under safety, we thought that, we should have another type of training, focused on safety. And perhaps, mention the percentage of employees who completed the training, but I guess this is for all employees, so I guess that's not necessary, but if it's,
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, a lot of cases, where you see the edits, what Sharon and I were looking to do is to add something more measurable in there as a metric for the goal. So you'll see that theme.
The fifth goal objective is around COVID-19. We were wondering if that still needed, I mean, obviously COVID's here, it's not going away, but do we need to measure the impact of that and the response? I think that maybe we could delete that.
All right, yeah, so let me start with this. So the next one, the 0.7, and we asked Pete, well, we're always significantly below that anyways. And so Pete suggested going to 65. And even at that, my thought was, well, it's still well above the year average anyways. So I don't know if it makes sense to have a goal to try to get below that, or if that's just a reasonable level try to go towards, but because there isn't, and you gave us something, Pete, that showed the actual.
Yeah, it's in the supporting documentation, I think.
Oh, okay.
The actual for 23 was about 41.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot lower than it has been though in other years.
Right,
correct?
so that's,
I think it's typically trends a little higher than.
right, exactly. So that's,
I don't know where it is.
that's why we weren't.
What's what there have been.
Yeah, there were no, like, a few years ago when the microburst came through, so,
It was a lot tighter to that number.
yeah, it was much tighter. It was actually tighter to the 0.8 at the time.
Yeah.
We gotta leave a little cushion there. Can't predict the weather.
Yeah. It's just on the dashboard, isn't it? The damn dashboard.
On page 43.
I don't think it was on the dashboard.
Wait,
Oh, it's not,
Oh, yeah, so, yeah.
I think it is on the dashboard, yeah.
We had,
We have our own.
I don't think it was. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it was on the dashboard.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. I know you-
I can never find the damn dashboard.
Yeah, we're at point 43.
Page A?
10.
Oh, okay, I skipped right past it.
Yeah, year to date, well, sorry, year to date is 0.39.
Yeah, so I don't know, I just Pete suggested 0.65 and we put it in as a placeholder.
So would you just say that 0.65 is just, obviously it's achievable. We don't want, it's not aspirational. We just, I'm not sure if it should be aspirational or just achievable at this point, or,
It's already better than the entire nation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very low. I mean, I'm okay with having the 0.65. It's still. It is a goal to work towards, which I think that they do to maintain.
Yeah.
The utility, you guys do that and day in and day out in your daily work, planning work.
I think,
You know,
yeah.
all of the strategic things that you do for the system is done with that lens to an extent. So
Right.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
I just bring it up because, obviously, the IOUs, the utility, National Grid, Eversource, doesn't have such great service quality performance. And so they are forced on this glide path where they have to make improvements over a 10-year period that they're, and so I don't think we need to do that here, but
It's more than double that, isn't it?
I know. I know.
Yeah, I think want to see, I'd prefer to leave it as is and see how it goes with all the kind of hurricane prevention, right, initiatives that you did, and also just in terms of severe weather. What happens over time here?
Okay.
Does it get worse? How much worse? What, do we have more microbursts? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where it's at its lowest level, and then you gotta look at, does it, maintain, and maybe there will be a year where a microburst comes through or a hurricane comes through and that number will be higher.
Okay.
All right, that's fair. So the next edit was down on 4B. And it just said, it used to say complete the management plan Q2. And I think that means by the end of Q2.
Yeah.
So I just filled that out. And then my only other question on this was, does this need to be beefed up? Because again, there's nothing really measurable other than you just do it, which you do anyways. And I just didn't know, by way of example on vegetation management plan, in terms of a metric, maybe something like how many, number of trees that get planted or just something that you can measure and say, okay, yeah, he achieved that goal. But there's not really a goal here other than just do your work,
Is there, I guess, to Jack's point, when you survey the system to identify, I know you move in, there's thirds of the town. Is there a metric that you and mayor come up with on what vegetation needs to be trimmed, what work needs to be done? Is there, or is it just more?
Well, we trimmed to the federal standard, like the
Yeah, but-
federal.
Okay, so there's a
We have a
standard.
tree trimming standard.
Okay,
So we trim to get the clearance around it, so 3 years of growth won't interfere with the lines, right? So we want to cut it back so that so we don't have to worry about growth. So over time, there's less growth into the line because of the way we trim. So if we keep up with this 3-year cycle, which we do, so a lot of these, we have a 1/3 of the system that we do every year. And we do a survey to identify trees that are hazards. So we can't really quantify what that would be as a goal.
Yeah.
Because that's basically just, we go out and do the survey, we find a tree that's unhealthy, make arrangements with the homeowner or talk to the town about removing the tree. And then we'll plant trees to offset that.
I think a longer term steady state goal would be to replace any tree we take down.
Yeah,
Going forward, right now, we're like 3 times in excess of that because of the programs that we're running. In addition to the stuff that we've agreed to replace for the energy park. So, but I think in the longer term, we can add a goal about. If you remove 32 trees, we plant a minimum of 32 trees or something like that, which will be a metric that we can measure. But right now, like we're doing 2 to 3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if there was some measurable metric
yeah.
that comes out of the vegetation management plan.
You know what it is? Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. The measurable metric is the Katie and safety numbers.
Okay.
Because trees are the number one driver of outages in utility companies. So, that's in normal conditions, trees are the number one driver. So the reason our performance is so good is because we have and that goes into all the programs that we have, all the maintenance programs. Everything that we do it keeps that number down.
So is this goal for cycle pruning?
Yeah.
So maybe just add that in there to kind of bound it, that it's mainly for cycle pruning, and if we want to.
Yeah.
Anything in the future for replacement of trees that are being taken down, sort of like an enhanced vegetation management plan. Then that could be another goal in the future once we get to more steady state.
Yeah.
So it could read like vegetation management. Plan end of Q2. To complete the cycle pruning by end of Q2, is that sort of
Well,
what it should read?
well, we call it vegetation management. That's.
Yeah, the
we
vegetation
don't,
management plan by end, okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to add the word complete?
Says
Yeah.
complete.
In there.
Is it?
It's above, it looks like a line above it, but it's not.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I need to look at that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
never mind.
I did the same thing. It was,
Disregard everything that I said.
Yeah, that's why I hate the bubbles on the side, because they mess it up. Okay, well, that sounds good. Right now, the class 3 leaks, we know there were, at the end of 2022, there were what, 50, if you add them all up, 53, and now there were 35, so he's gotten below the 40, and we proposed a target of getting now down to 20.
Yep.
So based on how many there are right now, that would be an elimination of 15 more this year. And next page. Take this.
This is all around customer service. So goals 1 and 2 seemed a little repetitive.
well, because we already got it under.
Because it was
30.
previously, it was marketing and outreach and then provide customer service, education and outreach. So we tried to make them more distinct. So goal 1 is now increase effectiveness of customer programs, and goal 2 is improve marketing and outreach of customer programs. And so for goal 1, we moved the first measure, which was develop marketing and promotional materials for all rebate incentive programs, down to goal 2. And we expanded that to include all customer programs, so not just rebates and incentives, but also low-income programs. And then we added a measure for goal 1 that says assess and communicate impacts of increasing fossil fuel costs on customer rates and bills and mitigation options. We thought that that would be, as part of making the customer programs more effective. So any questions about the goal 1, increase effectiveness of customer programs? So it now has 2 measures. Provide annual cost and energy savings data on all rebate and incentive programs. And then assess and communicate impacts of increasing fossil fuel costs on customer rates and bills and mitigation options.
But Don't we do the first one already as part of like,
Yeah, it wasn't in the goals though.
got it, okay. So that review we did a couple of months ago where we took some out and added some on, okay, that would be, okay.
Mhm. And then for goal 2, improve marketing and outreach of customer programs. As I said, we expanded the first measure to be all customer programs. That includes rebates, incentives, low income programs.
Improve marketing. Is that?
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
missing, yeah.
yeah, on the hard copy it is.
Yeah.
We can clean that up.
Then we kept the second measure, hold 2 topic specific forums annually to educate and collect feedback from customers on new technology solutions and program offerings. And so we made a suggestion to include residential rooftop solar as a potential topic for a forum. And then I don't know what we can do in terms of public forums for low and moderate income offerings. I know that we have a lot of information on our website that, but I don't know if people are finding that information other than when they're in trouble and calling because they can't pay their bill. I mean, I don't know. So this has gotten me thinking because a lot of people pre-pandemic probably weren't on assistance or didn't need assistance, but now I feel like people are still struggling and people that had never, applied for assistance or never felt that they needed to are kind of in that camp now, so.
What percent of the customers do we have on that bucket?
I'm not even sure.
I don't think we know fully. We don't know all of our
Right.
low income customers. We just know ones that have been on.
There's no
assistance.
specific indication on the billing system,
Not yet, no.
like a different type.
You know, people that are receiving, that, have applied for it and that are receiving assistance, like, and I don't know that number off the top of my head, but, the number of people that are out there that just are truly low income that don't ask for assistance, I have no idea how to capture that number.
So if we did an information session, we might have people that show up that aren't currently on a
It
list.
sparked some interest in that.
I know there's a sensitivity around that, but I don't know what we could do to
Maybe we could
publicly.
do it as a Zoom, so people aren't showing up in person, like, and see what.
Do you have to that point, do you have the capability of doing a Zoom webinar? Because
Yeah.
when you do the webinar,
People can just attend, yeah.
it's an attend and it's not, you don't see who's
Yep.
Yeah.
there.
Anonymous.
It's anonymous to the public, and then you can, for folks that do want to have question and answer, the questions
On the chat,
are, well, not even necessarily in the chat, only come to the presenters.
yeah.
And then you can
Yeah.
verbally,
Read the question.
read the question and answer the question. So that may be a way to do that and be sensitive to.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of low income people are also elderly and might not, be tech savvy.
Yeah, the
Uh,
tech
Yeah.
But
savvy.
but it's one way to try to reach out to people.
Yeah.
I think we just have to be clear that what we're talking about here is not our offerings. It's
Mhm.
other money, like state
Well-
and federal money that we are, right, helping to.
Yeah, it's other resources, yeah.
Directing people to.
Could be
those
both. It could be like a bill, what do you call it? A
Payment plan.
payment plan, a budget plan.
Yeah.
And other
Mhm.
offerings.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that National Grid, sometimes they do these town halls where in a public place, people can stop by on their way home after work and they can get on a payment plan and they can talk to somebody, a customer rep that's there for, from 4 to 7 or something.
In our case, we have Robin
Yeah,
all the time, and then, but again, getting the information of people that might be low income that don't know that. Robin reaches out to a certain group of people, but we also have the farmers market, we also have the Wakefield 101 and some of the other places that we're at, but
She's at the farmer's market, I think every other So we have a presence,
Yeah.
Right.
through Robin at the farmer's market anyway.
Maybe with the farmer's market, that is, have, even it could just even be a sign like ask about low income.
Yeah.
Or a prompt, or even an information flyer that has low income information that may prompt
They
someone.
could
that-
just take it home and look at it and then
And then
call
could
her.
come in and do that.
I'm not sure that the
It's already on
farmer's
the
market
portal.
is where low income.
I know, right?
That's
Yeah, I'm just, that's why I don't.
Honest,
Yeah,
like,
no, you're not.
I don't think you're gonna
That
find low income people.
At the farmer's market?
No.
You can find them at market basket.
Yes.
May or may not know somebody who's struggling. then
That's
they
true.
grab a
It could be
flyer.
referred to somebody else could help
There's a
and
timing
pass along.
element to that too. So usually people struggle when their bills are higher, in the winter time is when
Yes.
Yes.
are higher. So
But-
holding those sessions or whatever material we sent out probably at the beginning of the winter and somewhere in the middle of it could probably be more.
Maybe.
True, but a lot of the people who are on payment plans and stuff aren't really paying their bills through the winter because they know there's a moratorium and
Right.
they start catching up in the spring.
Right, so the real time to do it would be in the spring.
Spring and
Would be like, and yeah, end of winter,
Yeah.
March when they, March before the moratorium ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which technically ends March 15th, although you kind of extended anyways, right?
Yeah, we're asked always to extend it to April 15th.
So maybe an information session in a neutral place, like, I don't know, the library. I don't know, maybe that would be worth trying. I don't know.
So that means that we're proposing residential rooftop, low to moderate income, plus another rooftop solar, and what was the other? So these are all these, the whole bunch of.
Pumps, you know, we said-
In the heat pump, so there's a whole bunch of items on the table for
You can choose
outreach
from.
stuff.
And then,
Which ones do we want to put in here? Or can you do 4 different types and?
We could probably do 4 types, yeah. I'm not in favor of doing, I would rather test the webinar thing first. I'm not in favor of doing the low income in person right now. I don't think we have enough knowledge to, I don't think we should do that one. I don't mind doing a webinar for that one, but I'm a little concerned about that one.
because.
Privacy issue.
Sensitivity around that.
And knowing how to reach out to the people in the first place.
Right.
And finding,
Yeah.
Right.
I think
targeted too. Yeah.
bringing all that low income collateral together in one spot, potentially on our webpage, having the webinar that would be recorded, so it could be,
Exactly.
others can consume it later.
Right, exactly. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
If we do it and record it as a webinar, then Robin can even refer people to it.
Okay. That's great. That's great. So then the the third measure, educate customers on heating and transportation electrification options. We cut off with a focus on providing customers with information on fossil fuel supply and cost issues stemming from energy market instabilities. I feel like that is captured in goal 1 around communicating the impacts of fossil fuel costs and but if we want to make that a point. I think so. I thought it was
Mhm.
2 separate things.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's keep moving.
I gotta play pickleball at 6 a.m, so we gotta finish this before midnight.
Okay. Can we provide links and tools to calculate the cost benefit of different options, though?
I feel like that's not a department task. I look at the
Yeah,
department. as the
I didn't
enabler.
catch that. I don't know if we would necessarily want to sign up for that.
I look at the department as the enabler.
Yeah.
To be able to provide capacity and safe and reliable
Uh-huh.
service, not necessarily get into the customer space. That's more of a customer.
Well, this also goes to what we were just talking about with Jimmy, with the customer calls and says, I want to switch to gas. Then he's gonna say, well, there are other options. And that's exactly what this says. But it also says he would have to send them, a link, so we have to
Well, there is a links page on the website.
Right.
at least direct them, so at that point, he can.
Versus-
For the ones that we
Yeah,
do
like-
have,
It has to be a reputable site that's gonna
Yeah.
be there for a while, but yeah.
Like consolidate the links of, top of mind. Rewire America is a reputable link that actually has the tools to calculate. Right now, it's at a federal level. They're working to get it down to the state and municipality levels. But you can put your information in, and then it will give you a menu of stuff, and it even will potentially calculate based on the information you give, whether or not you
Mhm.
qualify, because there are cutoff points at the federal tax level based on income.
Mhm.
And then we'll put together an application for you to submit with, to whatever program that you are interested in. And so there's a lot of educational tools like that, and maybe we just have, part of that is to find those tools.
To redirect.
To redirect, or just have it as a resource for folks to consume.
And maybe it could be on the online gas service application too. Because they're gonna have to go to that, and they're gonna have to do that online, or they don't have to, or can they come in and fill out an application in person? Because if they have to do it online, and the links are on there, then this is satisfied.
I mean, you can always do an application in person. I feel like you always have to offer that.
we do, we
Yeah.
have some, we have links
Must,
and we have.
yeah.
So anyways, that was just a way of, offer another way to help customers educate themselves on the options.
Mhm.
So by providing those links, so. Next, engage abode. I think we kept that, the same, the only,
Just a spelling.
and, engage Voltrek on providing technical assistance to customers. We just thought it would be good to know, maybe as part of the evaluation, number of customers who have received technical assistance, and I think you reported that in the 2023.
Yes, those numbers are in the
Yep.
23.
Yes.
Yep.
Do we want, so the way this reads, it says track the percentage of customers who receive, do we want the percentage of customers or the number of
Oh,
customers?
number.
You know what I mean? Oh.
You want to count?
Just
Oh,
check the number.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to add a measure on getting input from customers and are researching, and research from other municipalities' websites to improve our website. So, I've heard anecdotally, website's hard to navigate, and we could probably benefit from a focus group.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked to Pete about that, and he was amenable, and I was actually wondering afterwards if we should beef it up and specifically say, engage a focus group. And then maybe get revamp the website at least ready for launch by the end of the year. Maybe it doesn't go live, but at least get it ready to launch or something like that, something more specific.
Is the website designed by us internally or?
We have a third party. yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to sign up. That is a colossal project in terms of starting it over. If we want to make improvements to the existing, building a new website that's a big project.
Mhm.
And again, my opinion is that you would want to take what we get from the feedback and decide what changes might, maybe we do decide that we want to do something in a completely different direction, but that project in and of itself, and I wouldn't want to, I'm not going to sign up for that this year. I don't think there's any chance we could do that. If it's the customers proposing a big change, then, again, we have to remember that the board also wants all this stuff on the website. We have so much stuff on our website now that was requested by the board, so it's hard to navigate. It's because we got a ton of shit on it. Like this, we have all these, we have board books and minutes and videos and reports, and like there's so much stuff on our website now. There's only so many things you can do to weed out and navigate. So if the feedback is to improve navigation, that's gonna be a huge effort to change, dramatically change it. I don't think we're gonna get it done.
Would a goal for this year maybe to do, a focus group and research slash
And make
survey.
suggestions, and if there's simple changes, make them, and if there's a larger change, then we,
And then maybe that's a goal for next year.
Yeah.
And I personally, I wouldn't put the website's, navigation, user experience on you guys, because that's not your area of expertise. I would actually suggest that, there are consultants and companies that will take an existing website, feedback from surveys, focus groups, and then design the user experience around that, and then.
Yeah, that's-
do the
that process is,
Yeah.
that process is for this year, Building the new website is gonna take a lot of time, if we end up doing that. But again, we have to remember that we've wanted to add a lot of stuff. I mean, there's only so many ways to navigate that. And the other thing I said to Jack and Sharon, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I guarantee if I asked each one of you what your favorite website is, it would be dramatically different. And that's the thing about websites. Everybody thinks they're the expert on what the best website is. And at this table, there's 9 different opinions on what that is. And so that's the challenge of websites, is everybody has a different opinion about what is the best. And so
All right, so what are we gonna do then? Are we gonna,
we're gonna have the customer focus group and we'll get,
no, we're talking about the document. So are we gonna leave it this way? Or are we gonna add specifically a focus group to the language?
We can add focus group.
Okay.
well, I think rather than seek customer feedback on ways to improve, because there might be there's also we're having a speaker at the meeting on website design and customer interface, so learning from that, so I would say maybe the best way to do it is to whatever tools we have to make improvements to the customer experience on the website by year end. Maybe that's the answer, whatever tools we use.
So could this be a benchmarking exercise where somebody comes in and benchmarks the usability or friendliness of the website compared to other munis or?
Uni websites are not a good benchmark.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'd
Sorry.
rather not benchmark. I'd rather just say that we use a few different options as to ways to get feedback on ways we can improve our website. And then, if it means a whole redesign, then
I mean, I know this might sound crazy, but most people are on their phones and their tablets, so would an app be more appropriate? A simplified one, even if it's just for payments to start with? Or emergency contacts?
And maybe
we-
stuff for the feedback, for the goal, I think. This year's goal would be to get input, feedback, suggestions.
and by year end have a
And then have a
recommendation
plan,
Yeah.
whether or not, and maybe out of that is, yeah, I would like an app, a Wakefield Gas and Light app. I don't know that we need, but.
Yeah.
I think we're a little biased in thinking how often people come to.
Yeah, that's.
But also, I mean, I think getting information about what you come to the website for, right? What are the 5 top things people are trying to do
Yes.
most?
Well, that's exactly what we were saying. If we
Right.
just, if we sit down and say, well, who are all the people? And then make sure that whatever they're going for, they can find
Right.
somewhere on that first page and know how to get there.
Important thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, can you get to the content you're trying to find?
Okay, so
Do we want to change it or do we just want to leave the language like it is? I mean, it might be adequate this way. I mean, our intention anyway.
Yeah, I actually think this language is fine the way it is. I mean, there's probably some things we can do to improve the existing website quickly, which would fit into this, but also if by year end, we make a recommendation that we do a complete web redesign, and that would be a 25 goal,
Okay, and then I'm just curious, is there a way to track visits to the website?
Like a page counter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and is there a way to track unique
Sure.
visits
yeah,
versus repeat visits?
we can look at that, I think.
Yeah, if you can get back to us and just let us
Yeah.
know.
I guarantee you Jeff has the ability to see those metrics. There's lots of metrics that are.
Yeah.
collected.
Yeah, if you can put that on the commissioner request log and then just get back to us, I'd be curious about what those and how they change over time.
Yeah.
All right, so the next page.
On financial,
Yeah, so work toward 3 months cash on hand, and then we added the specific metric and maintain a working capital ratio of 3.0, which is the 3 months, so. And the next one, two down, the same thing, we added a metric. And this was around, accounts receivable. It says, number of days revenue and accounts receivable greater than or equal to 30 days. The next one,
Is that, you want to be less than,
Yeah.
sorry, oh, great, what, what is
is
it?
that sign, I don't know, what's,
Less than, I think, oh, yeah, so greater than or equal to 30 days, right? Is
you
that-
want to be less than 30 days.
Oh, it's,
If you're greater than 30 days, it means you're not collecting money. If you're less than 30 days, it means you're collecting money, so.
yeah, I was thinking of cash on hand.
No,
So there's less than or equal to, yep, thank you, that's a typo.
Again, the accountant and you.
I know, really, good thing.
We can not collect money if you want.
Did you-
Wait, so that's
Greater than
an
equal.
average across all of our customers?
Yes.
Sorry, okay.
Yep,
But I think the way that goal reads is that address anything that is greater than 30 days, right? Or have a plan.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I don't understand the metric.
I'll read it again.
Address any individual customer.
oh, so if it does creep over 30 days, we need to address it.
at a global level, yeah, not at a specific customer. It's saying that if the average exceeds 30 days, what are we doing? about it?
Right, okay.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, it depends on which side of the fence you look at it from. Okay. So one side is don't let it get over 30 days and the other side, the other way to read it is if it does get over 30 days, you need to address it. So, and I'm fine with either way.
I think it's more of if it gets above 30, put a plan in place to get below 30.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's
Okay, so-
any issues if number of days revenue and accounts. receivable. So you just
Exceeds
put
the-
if in there.
Sort of a period.
If the number of days is greater than equal, so then the rest, so that says stat. And this one because it goes if without the period.
Yeah,
But
Yep.
on the budgets, do we want to put any measures around it? Because it said, there's just budget to actuals. What does that mean?
so I mean, we review it in November. All the budgets are done in November, just prior to the year end, close, all that. So,
But we've also modified our financial reporting, to include a budget line item that was recommended by the auditor.
yeah, the auditor.
So it's included in our financials.
Yep. Budget, there's a budget TED column, which is again approved in November.
What I'm thinking about from a goal perspective is it make sure that you come in within a plus minus 10% of the budget. Or a plus minus 20% of the budget.
Yeah,
What's the measure?
the dilemma with, so there's a,
Yeah, we skipped.
the
over.
difference. Again, one of the marked difference.
The biggest number is the,
Rates.
yeah, the rate.
Rates.
Fuel and
We went way
the.
off last year.
Yeah, we would have been, yeah,
But
IOU.
But that's not O&M,
You
right?
can have right?
Yeah.
Stability, it's at a higher rate and you buy an insurance policy for 6 months at a, but I mean, on an IOU basis, 6 months, you know what you're gonna be paying. You know what your rate is gonna be. It's fixed for 6 months. But No.
Are these two goals more like on the O&M spending and the capital investments rather than power purchase or energy purchase?
well, the O and M includes the power side.
right, the capital side does not. Right.
So you could potentially put a goal on the capital side, right, a
Yeah.
little bit more easily than on the O and M side?
Once we make the O&M exclude purchase of power and gas.
So I mean, one of the measurable pieces is the over, the payroll one, the overtime. So that's a big piece of the
Right.
budget is the payroll anyway, and that's measurable right there.
And again, I think we get to that in the last one, which is manage supply and maintain a position. On the bill comparison charts, that's kind of takes care of.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, I think it kind of gets you there in a roundabout way.
We left
How
those.
are we usually
last
on the
year.
capital spending? I mean, we don't usually go very far off of budget, I don't think.
We kind of can't unless
We kind of can.
well, unless it's debt financed,
Yeah,
right? So we're constrained by,
money.
yeah.
People like to be paid, and if we don't have the money, they get mad.
I feel like it's a pretty
Those are
tight, it's a
Yeah.
pretty tight ship here. There's not a lot of room for,
Especially when we only have
Extravagant.
less than 3 months of cash on
Yeah,
hand.
there's not-
So there's not a-
for extravagant.
We don't exceed it very often. Mark gets mad. And he walks around all day saying we have no money.
And you wonder why.
So we didn't change those from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I prefer that we leave them as is.
yeah.
And, we're looking at we're looking at the cash on hand, the working capital ratio, the cash on hand and all that.
I think the original goal was to pull out some key indicators that reflect that, and I think that's what we've done, and I think the other thing is that, we've tried to improve those tools as well, like I said, like adding the budgeted column in, and, in the mid-year report outs on the, capital plan and those types of things, so I think.
All right, so the next one on the gasoline and diesel, we moved that to environmental, and we'll discuss that because we got issues to discuss about that one, so we'll get to that on the next page. And then that the bottom one, we incorporated elsewhere. On this one, so we just added supply mix to non-carbon emitting. So, yeah, so that didn't really. Oh, jeez. Let's see.
So we add, for the goal number 2, we just added. We made a distinction and added resources for customers and the community. So. Because it's the measures refer to either customers or town or. As opposed to our. I can't even think. And then we changed DPW to the town because the town. It's not just
Yeah, just makes sense
DPW.
at this point, yeah, like we did today.
Yeah, and then for the goal 3. We,
Just capitalize.
yeah, we didn't change anything there.
And the next ones are just about the same.
Yeah, and then we.
The only one on this one was E. I sent out an email on that one.
What is, this is all red lot D here, is it? Building code development adoption, are we striking?
Oh, so we
Yeah,
struck that.
Yeah, scroll down and you'll see what we added in place with that.
Oh,
We just
okay.
said the green community energy
Yep, no,
reduction.
that actually makes way more sense. Now,
Yeah.
keep scrolling, Tom.
Okay, so we then, the adopt a zero emission fleet policy. So the problem with that, like Pete mentioned, and all my comments to myself over the last couple of days were exactly the same as you said. A couple of thoughts that I had on this. Adopting a zero emission policy is not necessarily a goal. It's just an action and the board could just vote that in. So that wouldn't be a goal necessarily to do it that way. But, and because there are some trucks that we know aren't gonna go to zero emissions, it's just not feasible at this time. So I thought a solution might be something like continue to pursue non-carbon emission vehicles wherever feasible and periodically report to the board on the fleet.
That's
We
what it,
already have a policy in, but we have the
low emission.
low emission vehicle policy, fleet policy. I think just adhering to that,
Meant it, yeah.
implementing the policy is the goal.
Mhm.
We already have that.
The town's policy.
Yes.
Yeah, because we also adopted the town's policy. I think we adopted the policy before the town actually
Voted
did.
on it, Yeah.
Which has, right, you try to say.
Yeah, there's a criteria.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, if
It
it,
doesn't mean every fleet vehicle
Correct.
changes
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
a
right.
zero emission
Yeah.
vehicle. There's some that will never because they're,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
part of the problem was the word was zero, and so I think.
Yeah.
The town's policy, I looked it up, was actually called low emission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we adopted, and it's, you know, criteria, passenger vehicle. Is there a vehicle available that is zero emission
That meets business need.
that meets the business
Right.
need?
Yeah.
Yes, well, then can you procure it?
Yeah.
No, well, then you can move down to the next
Yeah.
tier.
Plug-in hybrid.
Yeah, correct.
so the zero emission fleet vehicle policy is similar in that you strive to have a zero emission fleet. But that doesn't mean, but you have to just go through that process and that criteria. Does it make business sense? Can you do this? Is there a vehicle that's available?
I think the town's policy is called low, not.
Yes, it is called low, but
Yeah.
this would be more stringent.
Yeah, I think most of our fleet is not gonna qualify, so that's why I'm uncomfortable signing up for a policy that says zero. When the highest percentage of the vehicles we have won't even qualify.
Well, I understand.
So we have like a very small percentage of
Right.
vehicles
There may,
that would be impacted.
right,
And then the next, I'm comfortable with maintaining the adoption of what the town adopted because it has those steps. I think saying zero to me is
Well, we already adopted the policy, like, we have
Exactly.
we actually, this board
voted to adopt the town's policy.
So-
years ago
so- but-
as a policy, I think the goal for here as a measure is the policy being followed? To Jack's point, if we wanted to adopt a zero emission like, we'd have to come back as a board to adopt a different policy that we
Okay.
already have.
okay. But it wouldn't, I just want you to know that it's the same kind of process. It doesn't mean that you have to, I mean, it could be, the end result could be the same as the outcome of following a low emission vehicle policy.
If we adopted the low emission policy already, would this goal be more around like measuring how we're doing against that
Well,
policy?
that's what I was saying,
Right.
like,
Okay,
yeah.
I also am a little concerned that if we adopt a different policy, and this is kind of weird to think, but that the green communities like requires us to have this policy in place, like the one we already have. So I'm assuming they would accept a slightly different policy, but I actually don't know.
well, the reason I put this in here was because we are thinking about adopting the next level of green communities, the climate leaders, and this is a requirement. So maybe this is not the appropriate place to adopt a new policy. We have to kind of agree as a board, and maybe it's not a measure or a goal.
And maybe it belongs in the strategic plan and not
Yeah.
something like that.
If we haven't adopted it for this year yet, I do have a concern with it being in here. Cause we're not there yet, right? Like, we haven't decided whether the town is pursuing.
Right.
Yeah, so do we want to make goal this goal for E,
We don't,
Do we strike it?
well, I was just saying, a measure against the existing low emission policy that is in place.
Yeah, I mean, we can report out on, we actually do a couple times a year, we report on where we stand with the fleet,
okay,
so.
that makes sense to me to change that.
Sorry.
But I mean, never mind. I'll just, as a town, we are pursuing things as the actions as part of, the climate leaders, which is the next step of the green communities. We can do that independently. We don't have to, wait for the town, but.
I see what you're saying.
But I agree that perhaps a measure would be to report out and see our
And
progress
continue to strive to make for, the thing.
on the existing
Right,
policy.
we've continued to convert all our passenger class vehicles to either all electric or hybrid electric, based on the business use. And we're converting the buckets. There is zero options right now on dump trucks, zero options on gas,
Yeah.
street assault
Yeah.
vehicles. But the buckets have the hybrid model, which we feel is the right one to go to. So, those are all the steps we're taking, and we'll continue to, so we can report on that
Yeah, I think for the goal, it's a measure against the existing policy. If we want to talk about, adopting a new,
New policy.
new policy, then that goes,
Yeah.
on some future agenda, either as part of strategic planning or just an agenda
Yeah.
item. When that policy, I'm assuming there's already a boilerplate policy in place. We can modify, and if I remember correctly, we adopted the low emission of policy before the town did. So we've been leaders in that.
Yep,
Yeah, we want to continue to be at the forefront. I'm okay with that.
okay.
But I don't
This is
think.
not the time or the
Yeah,
place.
yeah, I don't think that
Okay.
that goal is my point.
So maybe just we'll change that out to report out on existing low emission policy.
What? No. Thought it deleted the whole thing.
What?
Are you doing track?
All right. Next,
Or is someone else?
I've been scribbling notes.
Okay,
Yeah, rather.
Yeah, don't worry about
yeah,
changing that. Yeah, we'll.
I would just say track against the existing policy.
Yeah,
so this is around leadership. So we just added for goal 1, first measure, just adding as part of the regular updates to the board, legislative and regulatory developments, which you already do. But just writing it in. And further down, I think the only change we made here was, there was a customer specific training that was actually somehow landed on
or different section.
under safety, and so it didn't fit there, so we just moved it
But
under
I think what
staff
we did-
development.
We've done different like company-wide trainings in the past, and I think what I read this change as being is that we should do one focused on safety, but also potentially do one on
Staff development.
on customer service as well, and separate those and have the one on safety in the first goal and the one on customer service. Customer service related, if,
Well, because it said customer specific, but that doesn't mean anything to me. So,
You want to say customer service.
Yes.
yeah,
Because I put.
Customer service training.
yeah,
I was customer service specific.
Yeah, and I think we could just start with like the train staff on customer service, like have it. Because it doesn't, the structure of the goal doesn't
Oh, we need to
follow
put
the
it.
structure with the action word starting at the beginning.
So train staff on customer
Yeah.
service.
Specific topic, yeah.
Yeah.
Like what we tried to do with Wortman before you guys were working with them, we did an internal training on like customer service related issues around understanding different personality types and, how to manage, effective communication, understanding what you sit in, assessing yourself, and then being able to try to assess the person you're talking to and understanding where you're at so that you can have a better customer service experience. So that was a training session that John facilitated. So we can do something like that,
Does the DPU still do their annual?
I haven't heard of one.
Yeah, we did it with the whole company.
It used
I
to be.
used to go to those, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why.
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. So what we should do is, one of us will put these edits in and then circulate it, make sure we're right, and then send it out to the group again, and then that's it. So,
Yeah, we need to vote on this.
but we need to vote on this.
Okay,
And then Pete will walk us through his self-evaluation on the performance.
Yeah.
All right. So is there a motion to accept with the edits we discussed tonight, the 2024 goals?
Yes. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 goals as amended.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
I,
All right, okay. Very well, thank you. All right, so then that brings us back to page 42. And Pete, you can begin walking us through. And then we will go into.
We don't need to share that.
Yeah, I'll just go through it quickly. I mean, some of these items we've kind of already discussed and we tried, because, Jack and Sharon and I had already met, we tried to even include some of the information in this report out. From the first page, I don't know if there's any questions. It was a good point raised by Sharon that it wasn't necessarily safety related, the customer service thing we did, but we did include all the company on it and that training. And one of the valuable pieces we saw was that the field crews were brought into a setting of customer, because our guys are out in the streets all day long. They talk to customers all day long. So bringing them, the folks up front kind of live and breathe it every day and deal with crazy customers and difficult customers. And it was a good experience for them, but also having the field crews participate because they get in situations too. And how do we present ourselves in the public? So, it was a valuable training, but I think for next year, we're gonna split it out. We'll do one for customer service related stuff and one for safety. Limited cases with so on COVID, we had nothing that impact operations, which was good. We did have maybe a half a dozen cases this year.
Yeah.
But we prevented any outbreaks. We still, people still have tests at home. We still strongly recommend, if you don't feel right, stay home. Depending on the situation, if it's longer term, we'll try to work with you, but so. On the next page, in terms of the operational, we've talked about the safety, the KD was under 60. We talked mid-year about some of the things we're a little bit behind on. The mat transformers, we didn't replace those this year, but we purchased all the equipment. One of the jobs required a massive switch box that we had to procure, and then the other one we couldn't schedule with the customer. They didn't want to take the outage in the fourth quarter, so we have to reschedule that. So we'll get those this year. And then one of the things we added in obviously was the whole hurricane survey. And it identified a bunch of things, including, pole replacements and switch replacements. On the gas side, we've listed the streets that we've completed and we got the PHMSA grant. In terms of the veg man, we did talk about the number of trees we planted. We did 102 last year. We also did that video on vegetation management as well, and we're well on our way to this year. We have, Dave, do you remember how many are in the Maple Way plan? Is it like 83 or something like that trees? Just on that plan alone?
Yeah, I think it was under 100, but just under 100. So it was around that.
Plant at the Maple Way, in addition to the
Yeah.
programs that we have with the town and also on the customer side program. We'll run that again this year.
Yeah.
We did about 60 the first year and we did about 50 last year.
Yeah, on the customer.
Of those 102, about 50 were on customer property. And the other 50 exceeded what we took down. I think we took down 42 trees last year and we planted 50 just on the street side, working with Dennis. We've developed a really good working relationship with Dennis, and our arborist is John Riley. I'm Brett Riley. Brett Riley, and they've got a really good working relationship. If we identify a tree that we think needs to be taken down, we confer with Dennis. He either agrees, disagrees, we agree to trim it, remove it, whatever, but that relationship has had huge benefits. And Brett took over for Guy Shepherd, who was here for many years, and it's been almost seamless. And, you could see from that video how much Dennis, that we all work very well together, and that's massive. In terms of gas services and the reporting data, when we moved outside, 0 class 2s at year end. We were at 30, as Jim reported. We're also, so the time of year we do our third-party survey is November, December, January. So we were at 30 at year end. It's ticked back up because we finished the survey, but we've set the goal for this year to be 20. So, and I think it'll be achievable, so. One of the things that was developed was a summary of all the marketing of all the programs, and we did do, an information seminar that Joe recorded that's on the website. And we added other links to different tools on our website. I included all the year-end, results on the saving that's in the report out package. We did a time of use rate one, we did an EV one, and we did a heat pump one with a boat in terms of customer specific training. We have been adding a lot to our website, but I do agree that maybe what we do this year is we really look at customer feedback and maybe by year end, if we develop a plan for what to do with the website, and if there's simple changes we can make short term, we'll make them. In terms of a boat and Volt Trek, one of the questions was like adding specifics around engagements. So we're reporting that there were 78 engagements with a boat and 6 with Volt Trek.
And were the 6 these are customer engagements with Voltrek?
Yeah,
Okay,
Customers and businesses, but they're all customer.
yeah.
okay.
In terms of the finances, I think we're reporting on we beat the goal on the overtime on target as presented. The one thing, working to the 3-month cash on hand. If you remember, the audit is through for the fiscal year, but by year end, we had that 0.7 that Melanson reported was up. We were able to get it up to 1.3, so we're trending in the right direction on that. What are they called now? Markham. I'm sorry.
Markham, yep.
We obviously presented our capital budget each year in the same time frame. We have the report out each year on gas and electric from Sprague and MWEC. The other item in terms of our gas supply that I just did want to give you information on. Mark and I have been meeting with Mark Roberts, and we've taken out a hedge for the next 2 years, which is going to lock in our gas supply at about 70 cents for next year, which is one piece of our supply, the commodity supply, where that number was in this year's budget was over 90, and in the year before was over $1.09. So we've been able to hedge out next winter. So that's a big step. And we actually took 2 slices and a portion of 100% of next year's open position, and then 50% of the following years, and it's gonna be a little over 70 cents, so. In terms of fleet vehicles, obviously, we added the hybrid bucket, the all-electric pickup. We added a second all-electric gas service van, and we added a supervisory hybrid. And so that was, and that's the kind of stuff we'll keep doing, you know, where we can. We need to maintain a certain like, we could make a couple of those supervisory vehicles all electric, but then we can't leave ourselves exposed in a storm. So we need some vehicles that are able to run without having to stop and recharge during the middle of a storm. So there's a blend of, you know, that we need. So, but again, with the hybrids, we've dramatically reduced our fuel usage, and I've kind of given that stat that with mine, I went from averaging 960 gallons a year to averaging 320 gallons a year. So we've cut out significant amount each year.
There's gonna be some vehicles they're never gonna be.
Right,
electric.
yeah.
You know, the heavy duty trucks, some police vehicles. Some, I mean, at least for the time being, so.
In terms of communicating rate impacts, we did the winter bill stuffer. We actually included, I think, we published it, we sent it out. We also had it on our website, and so that's included in the backup material. From an environmental, as MWEC reported out, we secured a longer term deal starting in 2030 on another slice of Seabrook. To add a piece of non-carbon emitting in our portfolio. And we also increased our overall non-carbon emitting portfolio by 1% to 52.1 for 23. Trying to think. Some of these are self-evident or ongoing. one of the things we did this year, the level 2 chargers at the head of the lake, they were turned on in January, and that was funded partially by a state grant, which was a big win. The Energy Park, the home rule petition was a lot of work last year, and the order, Dave and Vinny and Sarah did an amazing job of having and dancing the line on the procurement of the equipment, because we were doing a lot of dancing because we needed to get the stuff ordered. And we were waiting for the home rule petition to come through, which didn't come till December. But Dave was very creative in making negotiating deals like, well, if you keep our place in the queue and we back out, we'll pay a penalty, but negotiating that number down. So fortunately, everything came through, and we're moving in the right direction. But there was a lot of work last year by Sarah, by Dave, and by Vinny on the materials for that project, because we had to get our spots in the queue or we weren't going to make the goal. So that was a big thing. And I spoke at the stretch goal, the specialized energy code. And Joe continues to work on ongoing grants, and Raven pointed out tonight, one of them, we've applied for on a second iteration of the PHMSA grant. On the last page, in terms of leadership, some of the things are ongoing. The dashboards were streamlined. We began strategic work with Wortman. One of the other things, which was a decent portion of my time this year, was the GSEP committee that I was appointed by Governor Healy to sit on that committee with Senator Barrett, Representative Roy, and representatives from a bunch of different sectors, including Eversource, and all the IOUs were on it. I was a representative from the Muni world. And so that was, even though GSEP doesn't affect us directly because we're not under that, we still operate similar to it. So I was invited by the governor to participate, and so I did in that, and that was a decent time. And again, we had all departments present during the year. Some of the other items not covered, the awards that we were able to get this year. So I think that's, and again, some of the.
Where are those awards, Pete? Where are those awards?
I didn't take
Looking for them.
Yeah. Just in case. So, are there any questions about anything that we completed this year?
Yeah, on the page 46, the MWEC battery incentive program. I know we talked about, well, actually, maybe we didn't. It says ongoing. Can you just give a quick update on what we're?
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of interest in it yet. We're participating. I think we'll try to do some additional marketing this year and try to improve, see if anybody. Joe, do you even have any idea at the MWEC as a whole level? Has there been any participation?
Not much, just I feel like it was under a dozen, like across. I mean, I think there's maybe 5 or so utilities that have opted in, and we're one of the 5 or 6. Maybe it's more than the last time we talked, but I think, and I'm on the Next Zero subcommittee there, so I think one of the goals for going into this year is talking about how to revamp that program to see, like, because there's not a huge, there's not a huge uptick of interest. Like, is it just something that people aren't as interested in at this moment? Are people priced out of it because it's expensive and maybe the benefits aren't high enough? I think that's something that we're going to look at this year on the subcommittee. So
yeah, I would say that there's a couple of barriers there. The 2 batteries that are participating, I looked into it just as a cursory, like, why aren't we having an uptick? I couldn't find an installer that would install either one of those 2 batteries. And then the second feedback is the incentive isn't, they're like, wouldn't even, one gentleman's like, I don't even know why you would apply for that. It doesn't do anything.
Doesn't move the dial on it.
He was like, it doesn't even cover the effort of the paperwork for it, was his comment.
I think Joe and the team are looking at a revamp, trying to improve the program.
Yeah, and I think that's at, an MWEC level. and then trickles down to us.
Right, and so I think that Joe's been very active in sharing the feedback on that.
Is that something that, just a question, because we were talking about the Woodville School earlier today, like, could that be used for larger buildings to shift load if they had renewables on the roof, things like that, or not at that scale?
This program this is the residential.
This is, oh, you're talking about the resident, but it says commercial here, yeah.
I think it's small commercial. I think it's like
I think it's 25K.
yeah, it's the Tesla battery wall level of.
Yeah, and I think that's another barrier, you know, and I know that this isn't an MWEC, it's the barrier is at the Tesla battery where they're not allowing access.
To control
Right.
To control it, and, you know, predominantly, if you look at the market, predominantly the in commercial batteries are a Tesla battery. The other players are just not out there yet.
So it's an evolving marketplace, but I think Zoe from MWEC and Joe as part of that team are working.
Any more discussion? I will entertain a motion then that we take a vote to come out of the general session and go into executive session for the sole purposes to discuss the 2023 performance and then exit executive session for the sole purpose of then voting on the amount of the performance award, followed by a vote to adjourn.
There's usually two votes that are taken, the percentage raise for next year and then the percentage for the bonus. There's two parts to it.
Oh, okay, that's, yeah, I'm gonna go back.
Get that written.
And I did include the table for the. which ones are referenced.
Well, last year, we only did two votes. We didn't, there was a motion to vote to award the general manager the full amount. And then we did a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think we missed I think it was dealt with the next month. Yeah, we never dealt with the raise part of it, which is,
Okay. And that's part of your contract.
yeah, there's three elements of the contract. There's the base salary, the bonus, and then the longevity payment. And so the longevity payment's already standard, but as long as I stay through December 31st, it triggers. But the other two pieces are.
Okay, so we voted on, all right, so the first vote is to make the award and the second vote is specifically what? Did you word it correctly?
The percentage increase of the base salary.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion then to exit general session, enter executive session to discuss the 2023 performance, and then exit executive session to then take three votes, one on the performance award, one on the percentage increase to the base pay, and thirdly to adjourn.
Do we have to repeat all that, or can we just say?
Yeah.
It's already in the right.
I'll move the
Let's
motion.
say so moved.
So moved.
I mean, you can ask, did you have a question before we move?
I don't. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay,
Then I'll move it. So moved.
and second, okay,
All right.
very well, we're in executive
Dave,
session.
you wanna-
I need to
vote.
Yes.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, we need a roll call vote to come out first of all,
vote, and then I have to go out.
and then you, yeah,
Yep.
okay, all in favor? Oh, we
Aye.
have to do roll call, so Sharon,
Aye.
aye, and Jen,
Aye.
Elton.
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and aye. Very well, all right, so let's
Now
go.
we're going into executive session,
Have a good night, everybody.
Aye.
Thank you, Joe.
Aye.
so I can pause it, right?
I just
Should I pause it? Or should I?
Shut it off.
Yeah, I stopped the recording.